5. The encounter, Jackie Dawson's POV. As I heard my name being called, I entered the room waving my right hand in greeting to everyone. The employees erupted into applause, and I couldn't help but feel a swell of pride. Walking forward, I joined the other senior staff members at the front of the room. My gaze swept across the hall as I tried to establish eye contact with my employees. I wanted them to feel connected to me. As my eyes traveled slowly from left to right, something caught my attention. The color, that same unmistakable yellow. It stood out vividly because no one else in the entire hall was wearing it. That was when I realized it had to be her, the girl in the yellow dress. My mind instantly conjured the image of her earlier, her pained expression and those large, captivating eyes. I couldn't tear my gaze away from that color. Just then, her head tilted slightly to the right, emerging from behind another colleague, and our eyes met. Her wide, startled gaze locked onto mine, and in that instant, her expression betrayed her alarm. She hadn't expected to see me again. In a flustered motion, she ducked her head out of sight. Even as I listened to the staff's speech, my eyes kept drifting toward her. Moments later, she peeked at me again, this time with the hesitant curiosity of a 6-year-old sneaking a glance at something forbidden. I held her gaze, unwavering. But this time, instead of hiding, she avoided my eyes altogether, her discomfort evident as I began addressing the crowd. After my short motivational speech, the hall gradually emptied, leaving me with the senior staff. My eyes followed the yellow silhouette until it disappeared behind the main door. Only then did I turn my attention to shaking hands with the management team. That's when I learned she was one of my employees. The thought consumed me. How could I find her? I had to confront her. I needed to know why she'd left the cafeteria without saying a word, and more importantly, what had happened to her neck when I'd accidentally hurt her. Her pain had been so evident on her face, and yet I hadn't been able to see the wound clearly. It was driving me mad. No girl had ever reacted to me the way she had. Most women threw seductive glances my way. She, on the other hand, had been visibly annoyed when we first met, and now she seemed utterly horrified at the sight of me. It was amusing, really. Why had she been hiding? Oh, come on, it's obvious. She just realized you're the owner of this office, my inner voice chimed in. Yeah, that must be it, I thought, though the answer felt too simple. So what now? My inner voice pressed. Now, let's begin the search, I decided. I entered my office and gestured for Bellroom to take a seat in front of me as I settled into my chair. Sir, you can have lunch in the cafeteria. Would you like me to get something for you? I was just about to head there, Bellroom offered with a cheerful smile. Thank you, Bellroom, but no, I'm not hungry yet, I replied with a smile. Before you go, I need something from you, I added, pointing both index fingers at him. Whatever you need, sir. He nodded eagerly. Bellroom, I want all the employee detail files. Where can I find them? I asked directly. They're on your computer, sir. There's a folder in the D drive named Staff Files. It contains all the employee records in Excel format. But there are more than 700 files in there. What exactly are you looking for? He asked curiously. Nothing important. I just want to check some employee details, I replied casually, dodging his question. You can easily search for employees by their names, he informed me with a bright smile before standing to leave. Okay, that's easy. Or so I thought, until the realization hit me. Oh no, not easy at all. I don't even know her name. My smile faded as the problem dawned on me. I'd only seen her. I didn't have any clue about her name. How was I supposed to find her details? There aren't any photos of the employees, are there? I asked, furrowing my brows in the hope of hearing a miracle solution. There are photos, sir, but they're inside their individual files, he replied, only to start asking, Who are you searching? How would you find someone just by their face? I interrupted urgently. There's no direct way, sir, but you could try Googling their image. It might match their social profiles, he suggested excitedly. I don't have a photo. I trailed off, hesitating. I mean, I haven't taken any photos. I've only met this employee once, I replied cautiously. To fear, sir, jo rabdi marsi. Abto wo hitinu kuchpata payega. Abne basti togal hai nai. He said in a strange accent, switching to an unfamiliar language. What? I asked, confused. I mean, sir, now only God can help you find that employee. We humans have our limitations, he explained, sounding almost philosophical. My eyes narrowed as I felt annoyance creeping in. I sighed and shot him a sharp glare. Sensing my irritation, he quickly said, "Okay, sir, I'm off to the canteen. You should eat something too. They have great food there. Do come by when you're hungry." I ignored his invitation and focused on the task at hand, searching through the files. Finding one person's photo among thousands felt overwhelming. Opening each file was tedious, but I was determined. I didn't care how long it would take. I had to find her. Motivated, I began opening each file, meticulously checking every photo one by one. The Indian names made things even more challenging. I couldn't tell if the name belonged to a man or a woman. Even after sorting by gender, the task tested my patience, leaving me increasingly frustrated. Finally, I leaned back in my chair, resting my head against it, eyes closed, letting out a weary sigh. After letting out a deep sigh, I resolved to continue my search. But as I opened my eyes, something caught my attention. A flash of that unmistakable yellow color on one of the flat screens mounted on my office wall. My eyes blinked rapidly, the sight instantly sharpening my focus. I moved closer to the wall for a better view and watched the live CCTV feed displaying the yellow silhouette I'd been obsessing over. A smirk spread across my face when I noticed the tiny letters "third floor" in the top left corner of the screen. "Yes, Miss Yellow Sunshine, finally I've got you." I left my office and took the elevator straight to the third floor. Once there, I approached the door, opened it quietly, and stepped inside. The area was silent, with no one in sight, but I wasn't there for anyone else. Moving forward stealthily, I scanned the space, searching for the yellow silhouette that had consumed my thoughts for the last 4 hours. Hours that felt like an eternity. And then I spotted it. That striking color was unmistakable, far to the left, about 4 or 5 rows from the door. I approached slowly, ensuring my steps were silent, until I stood just behind her. She was seated, eating her lunch alone. My eyes flicked over the items on her desk. Quirky statues, pictures, cards, and other personal belongings, mixed with work-related stationery. I couldn't help but smile. "Crazy girl." "Hello," I greeted softly, keeping my tone light so as not to startle her.
Lavanya's POV. Thank goodness for my mother, who never let me leave the house without a lunchbox packed in my bag. Most of the employees had already left the work area to eat in the canteen. I usually join them with Ruhi, but today, I stayed back. I didn't want another awkward encounter with anyone, especially after everything that had happened. Besides, I was too hungry and tired to wait, so I chose to eat in the quiet of my cabin. As I took my first bite of the homemade food, peace washed over me. The curry is so tasty today. Mama, you're the best cook, I whispered to myself, thoroughly enjoying the meal. Just as I was chewing another bite, I suddenly heard a husky voice greet me. "Hello?" "Who?" The voice was vaguely familiar. No, yes, maybe, from earlier today? But it's not a voice I know well. Definitely not Virat sir's voice. Who could it be? This isn't the time for guessing. My inner voice snapped me back to the present. I quickly swallowed the bite of food in my mouth and turned around to see who it was. The moment my eyes landed on the person, I froze. Standing before me, smirking, was the man who had been haunting my thoughts all day. "So, Miss Yellow Dress, Big Eyes, I finally found you," he declared proudly, his hands casually tucked into his trouser pockets. I stared at him, wide-eyed, trying to make sense of what he had just said. "Aren't you going to say something?" he asked. "Huh?" The only sound I could manage was a strange childlike noise. My voice had completely failed me. With a blank expression, he started walking towards me, each step deliberate and steady. As I watched his feet move closer, my reflexes kicked in. I stood up quickly and backed away. His expression hardened, his jawline now sharply defined like a statue. Why is he coming towards me? I swallowed hard, the lump in my throat growing as I felt both nervous and parched. His piercing eyes tracked the movement down to my throat and then returned to meet mine. Shit, he noticed. My eyes darted around the hall, desperate to find someone or something. Anything that might help me escape this increasingly uncomfortable situation. I wasn't sure what I was looking for, but the fear and loneliness washing over me were undeniable. He continued to appraise me shamelessly, his gaze drifting downward to my neck. The moment his eyes lingered there, an overwhelming sense of unease crept over me. This man has no shame whatsoever. First my face and now my body? What a disgusting creep. This American monster. As he moved closer, I instinctively stepped back, trying to maintain as much distance as possible. Oh God, please, rescue me from this creepy American boss. My retreat ended abruptly when my back hit the wall. Panic surged through me as I scanned the room for an exit, my eyes growing wet with helplessness. There was no escape. He was now standing far too close uncomfortably. Alarmingly close. His sharp eyes bored into mine before they once again shifted downward to my neck. Disgust churned in my stomach at his shameless gaze, and I instinctively dropped my eyes to the floor. Disgusting. Show me, he said, his voice startlingly commanding. What? What did he just say? Oh no. My eyes widened in terror, and I looked up at him with a pleading expression. Panic welled up inside me, and I bit my lower lip to keep my emotions from spilling over. Huh, I said, show me now. He repeated, his tone sharp and authoritative. This man is pathetic, disgusting, vile. Oh God, I can't even think of enough words to describe him. And I'm working every day for someone like this? Are you deaf? He snapped, his brows furrowing in frustration. I didn't respond, but he caught me swallowing hard again. His irritated sigh echoed in the tense silence. Without warning, he reached out with his right hand, grabbing the edge of my dupatta draped over my left shoulder. No, 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 this is not happening. No, no, please, no, stop, I cried, my voice trembling as I crossed my arms over my chest defensively. My eyes shot open to glare at him, showing my absolute refusal. His hand froze mid-motion, still holding my dupatta, and his eyes blinked rapidly in confusion. Are you insane? He shouted, his voice rising. Stop making such noise. I'm not here to rape you. You nearly made me deaf. Jeez. He pressed his left hand to his ear in frustration. I stared at him in silence, too frightened to speak. I just want to see your wound, he explained, his voice laden with exasperation. His words hit me like a jolt. My eyes blinked rapidly and confusion clouded my mind. What? Wound? What wound? The cafeteria, the file, the accident, remember? He reminded me angrily, his tone impatient. Realization dawned on me. My tense body relaxed, and I exhaled deeply, embarrassed by the wild assumptions I had just made. Fine, now, can I see it? He asked, reaching for my dupatta again. No, I screamed, pushing him away with all my strength. The force of my shove sent him stumbling 2 or 3 steps backward. Relief was short-lived though, as my dupatta slipped entirely off my body and ended up in his hand. Stupid girl, your dupatta. I felt utterly exposed and vulnerable, glancing down at my body before my gaze shot to the dupatta now clutched in his grip. That bloody moron. I seethed silently as he stared shamelessly at my neck, a hint of smugness lingering in his expression.
Jackie's POV. With a sharp scream, she shoved me away, and as I jerked backward, her dupatta slipped off her body, revealing the bandaged area. That gave me the chance to finally see the injury, but all I could find was the bandage plastered on her collarbone. Oh, that must be hurting her. How bad is it? I asked, my voice laced with concern. She didn't respond. Answer, damn it, I barked. Give me my dupatta back, she said, her voice steady but urgent. What dupatta? I asked, confused. She gestured towards the stole now in my hand. Give that back. I looked down at the scarf, then back at her. No, first you tell me, what caused you to put a bandage on your collarbone? I demanded. She sighed in frustration, stepped forward, and tried to snatch the dupatta from me, but I raised my hand high above her head. She was too short to reach it. I smirked at her failed attempts. Poor tiny girl. Tell me first, I insisted. She glared at me, then touched the wounded area. It's just a scratch. A little blood, that's it. Now give me my dupatta. Is it hurting? I asked, ignoring her request. No. Now please give me my dupatta. She breathed heavily, clearly growing irritated. Oh, I see. Now she has to answer all of my questions. Why were you hiding it then? Why did you suddenly leave the canteen? And why were you hiding from me in the conference hall? I asked, raising an eyebrow. I went to the restroom to put on the bandage. That's why I left. And I wasn't hiding it just from you. I was hiding it from everyone because... She faltered, losing track of her words. Because the scratch was, in a weird place and it looked weird. I didn't want to grab anyone's attention, she replied, her tone hesitant. Oh, did she mean love mark? You mean it looked like a hickey? I asked with a smirk. Hickey, what? She frowned at me in confusion. Poor innocent girl. She doesn't even know what a hickey is. Love bite, I whispered with a teasing grin. Her eyes widened. Give me my dupatta back. Without another word, I handed her the so-called dupatta. She quickly spread it over her torso, covering the wounded area. I smiled, but when I looked at her again, she was staring at my chest with wide eyes. Not so innocent after all, huh? What? Haven't you ever seen a well-built man? I teased, my voice laced with mischief. She slowly looked up at me, her face horrified, and gestured towards my chest. I followed her gaze and noticed a yellow stain on my white shirt. Shit! What the hell? I cursed, grabbing the stained area of my shirt in disgust. Shit! How did this happen? I muttered to myself, examining the stain. The curry, she whispered, her voice strained. Curry? What curry? What? I frowned, confused. She pointed to her right hand and gestured towards her lunchbox on her desk. What the... With the sudden realization, I looked back at her and shouted, Are you freaking kidding me? She painted my shirt yellow with that, whatever she called it, Sorry, she apologized, her face filled with guilt. I glared at her, clenching my jaw in frustration. No,